Oh shit. Oh shit. What's good with it, man? We're gonna get on the topic today of motherfucking history. Black history. The real history. Cause the further you go back, the more it get black, baby. Now if you ain't in tune with the red, black, and green, I wouldn't even consider you part of the movement, part of this. Cause if you don't understand the red, black, and green, you don't even understand who you really are. You know, the red stand for the blood we done shed. You know, the green stand for Mother Earth, the land that we need to take back. The black stand for the people. You understand? We got to understand this. Understand black history is very, very important. And I'm going to tell you why. The first example I'm going to give for my small-minded people out there, no offense. If you go into a job, what they going to ask you for? If you're trying to get a new job, what they going to ask you for? Your resume. If you go into a car dealership and you're trying to buy a car, they're going to ask you for your credit score, your resume, what's going on, how much money you make, how much money have you made, are you trustworthy, are you a felon, this, that, and the third. It's part of your history. Now you have to think about that on a major scale, because it's very important when your history is known, so nobody else can set the narrative for who you are. Now where we've made the mistake and where we've been manipulated into, Western civilization, white people, above, that are classified as smart by other white people, have wrote the history and set the narrative for us. That's why you see these racist movies, you see these racist cartoons. The further you go back in Hollywood, you'll see a lot of racist movies, especially when they talk about the African people or whatever. They know they're always jungle people. You got jungle fever, and you got all this fake narrative stuff that's been set based off history. And once you understand black history, you will understand that all this stuff is baloney. That there is no way that a person who understands black history can sit up and watch that stuff and really think it's real. For instance, if you go back and watch, the movie 12 Years Slave, you'll feel damn, we were slaves, we was going through this, that. That's a narrative set for your people. They will never show you a movie like 300, but with black people. About a black king who had a black rulership and defeated white people, defeated a white army. But in reality, there are thousands of stories where great black kings, great black civilizations defeated Europeans, Asians, Arabic, Indian, all that. Defeated those nations to hold their own. And they lived and died free. Uncolonized like we are today. Okay? Colonization is fairly new, y'all. It's very, very new. It's a new technique. That's why we still shaking up out of it. Because it's new on us. And the history has set the narrative for us to stay content in this mind frame. That's why it's important. Because if you understand black history, you'll understand where we need to go. Now, if you go back and study people like Dr. Ben, I want y'all to write him down. Study Dr. Ben. He will show you and teach you about a lot about the ancient Egyptians, and those were dark-skinned people. Now, the reason for understanding those people is because Egypt was the Mecca, or the holy ground of what we call civilization today. That's where a lot of innovative things that powered civilization and set the tone for how we civilize today. That's why you see a lot of rich white people, when they pass away, they're buried under ancient Egyptian style symbols and statues and monuments and sarcophagus and stuff like that. This is for a reason, because they understood, they studied and understand that the dark-skinned people of Egypt knew something. They knew something about spirituality and the afterlife. Okay? And if you understand black history, you will understand that we were in tune with the world. We were in tune with the cosmos. We understand that blackness was divine. It was a gift. We had melanin. We was empowered. We had curly hair. We do our hair any kind of way. And all. You have to understand black history to understand who you truly are and why you need to love yourself and why you don't need to look outside of your race to find beauty. Okay? Now, when I talk about setting the narrative by Western civilization. This is the school system. This is Hollywood. Any source of entertainment or education that pertains to history, the narrative has been set by white people, and y'all have to recognize that. Okay, and the reason for that all really falls back to controlling resources, like I've already talked about. Because if you set the narrative for a man in a sense that he never had nothing, if I tell a man he ain't had nothing, he wasn't civilized. If I tell that man and that woman and that child, y'all ain't had nothing till I got y'all, whatever crumbs you give them, like when they give us a job, we the first black teacher, first black this, first black that. Whatever crumb you give them, they're going to appreciate it. Because based off the history that we've been taught, we didn't have nothing. Y'all understand where I'm going? This is why it's important to understand black history. Because then you will understand that we had something. You will understand that we were the pioneers of the pioneers. We are the constructors and beginners of civilization. And prime example, I be looking up a lot of stuff, but I seen this a little while ago. I want y'all to go look up Adam's calendar, okay? And the reason they call it Adam's calendar is because the history of the narrative of history has been set in the Bible that the first man was Adam. So they just call this Adam's calendar because it's the first clock or civilization that they found in the world. It's the oldest civilization, and it's in South Africa, okay? Dark-skinned people civilized the world. We began civilizing things in Africa, and we spread that knowledge all over the world. You can see the proof if you study black history. And this is why they don't want you to know this, okay? This is why they don't want you to historically know about Constantine and how they began Christianity and how European countries fought and killed each other over religion, over false gods and things, and imposed other religions on us. We're Christians by force, not because we wanted to. Okay? And if you understand black history, you'll understand these things. So like I always say, you will never know who you truly are until you understand black history. Okay? Not based off what your grandma told you, you Cherokee or you Hebrew. Not like that, because you cannot trace your direct bloodline through a direct grandmother or grandfather. The further you go back, or grandfather, the further you go back with your grandfather and grandmother, there are thousands and millions and quadrillions of people who make up what you are today. So your main focus on history is to study the skin pigmentation that you see in the mirror. If you classify yourself as black, study black history. Okay? It will empower you. That's what it's for, and that's what you have to do so you can understand who you truly are. So you can understand where we need to go. Alright? Black history. Study it. Understand it. Okay? Learn it. It's important.